do virtual teaming very successfully with telephone, email. I don't think that you need to be continuing upgrading. If you're focusing on the human element, you're focusing on the goal of the project, I think you can avoid some of the costs that people are committing to.
We go to Sabina Scojila, Mexico. Please go ahead, please.
Sí, buenos días.
The question is the following. If, of course, network collaboration is very good, it has great advantages, it equalizes knowledge and information, but what do you recommend for the employees of an organization so they can accept this type of work and do it in a more efficient manner?
Again, I think that's something that organizations need to face quite directly, as you imply. Organizations need to provide specific training. They need to provide specific reinforcement for the behaviors they expect, and not to assume that people, the user, the end user, will know how to use it effectively. I think the organization needs to tackle this quite directly and explicitly.
I think also if the organization can give opportunities for people to practice using the technology in a non-threatening manner and recognize that there will be errors that are made when you initially try to use it, and provide a setting where you can do that.
Excellent. And we go to Quito, Ecuador for our next question. Please go ahead.
Muy buenos días. It's true that some of the incentives in a workplace are recognition, for example, face-to-face recognition. How can I do this in teams that cannot integrate themselves or cannot see themselves? And also in where we are adapting technologies that are new to us in countries such as Ecuador, my country.
Social presence when you can't see the other person.
Yeah. Do you want to jump in? Or?
Well,
Go ahead.
I think that you can recognize people in the communication and recognize them in front of the rest of the team members or the team as a whole by your communications. I think you can do. The team is much more like the network in Ecuador and Peru, the communities. The markets coming together and exchanging and supporting one another. I think that is richly involved in those cultures. And this is just another way of being able to reach out to that. I was in Peru last summer, and I've communicated with people from the Amazon by email as we continue to exchange information. So I don't think that that's a terrible impediment.
That's excellent, because we now go to Lima, Peru for our next question. Go ahead, please.
Could you please expand on the process and context regarding to how virtual teams leverage the power of differences? Thank you.
Yes, I think that just getting the input, welcoming the input, soliciting the different opinions and valuing those different opinions, it will increase your value of an international, cross-cultural group. It's a matter of recognizing we have value here by virtue of our distance. How do we maximize it? So it's, again, particularly the leader focusing on that to create that added value.
Thank you. And we go to Mexico for our next question. Go ahead, please.
Is from the University of Liceo Cervantino. Good morning. I would like to ask some of your opinions to see how we could maximize one of our first virtual classes, and how we can keep up our students' attention and involvement in the class. Thank you very much.
Well, I'll start out, Larry. I'm sure we both have experience in that. So, but I know my own students, the things that they really like after having taught in a virtual environment for many years, they like a lot of involvement of the professor. They like the professor to be involved in the discussions, not necessarily shaping them, but being involved, his presence, responding quickly to requests, email requests, or questions to the professor. To me, I think the key is that the teacher needs to know that he can and should insert his personality into the process. And that's not always easy, but the students really want the professors to be a real person who is responsive, who is alive, and interacting with them. It would be my recommendation.
And we go to Puebla, Mexico for our next question. Please go ahead, please.
Do you think that virtual training is as effective as face-to-face training, taking into consideration the time factor, for example?
Yes, I can actually respond to that, if I may. I have looked at research for the past 60 years, and invariably research shows that there is no statistically significant difference between distance education and face-to-face education over many, many years and in different venues on a variety of different subject matters.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
I have a little bit of a disagreement on that, in that we teach in the strategy courses often the case method with class discussion, and the reaction I've had there is that the students that we've done this at a distance with the two-way communication, but their conclusion was that was a course that you needed to be in the room. So you may want to temper that with the nature of the subject matter. There may be a difference, but overall, I concur.
Let me add too that I think that when you're developing your first course, I think it's a mistake to take a university professor's course and then say, now we'll do this online. I think that you need to gear the course specifically for the online focus. For instance, the online course is much more cognitively oriented, less experientially oriented, and so you're going to appeal to more cognitive areas of learning rather than in a classroom where it may be a little bit more experiential in the sense that you're making groups and interacting in a more
there are all kinds of variables involved, and we have to be careful about them. Thank you for your questions. Let's now move to the second module of our program.
Thank you. I am honored and pleased to be able to speak with you again. Today, I would like to discuss the current trends in organizations focusing on information and e-technology as a key factor in their competitive strategies, and on how these organizations are creating value for their customers and stakeholders. Information and e-technology is now a key factor in competitive strategy and is very important because organizations are increasingly networked. In fact, government institutions are always geographically decentralized structures by nature, including school systems. Competitive universities must now be learning organizations connected internationally. The concepts I will be discussing are applicable to any organization, anywhere in the world. While these concepts are not totally culturally independent, they can be applied anywhere in the world, as networking e-technology is global in nature. During the internet boom, organizations snatched up new technologies, assuming that these tools would transform their businesses. They were wrong. Moham Sahney, a professor at Northwestern University's Kellogg School of Management, has stated, organizations got scared they were going to be left behind, and that all this new information and e-technology being created